Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're a student pilot right now, you're probably pulling your hair out over meteorology, navigation, or maybe aircraft performance. You're studying hard, putting in the hours, but somehow you're still forgetting everything when it comes time for the exam. It's completely overwhelming, right? Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to use evidence-based study strategies tailored specifically for conquering these really difficult ATPL topics. Here is our flight plan for today. We'll start by tackling the ATPL information overload. Then we'll dive into the science of successful learning. Next, we'll apply those principles to specific ATPL subjects, build a concrete 5-step study system, cover how to prevent pilot burnout, and finally, look at why strategy always beats study hours. Section 1. The ATPL information overload, navigating the turbulence.
So are you studying incredibly hard but forgetting everything anyway? Honestly, it feels like drinking from a fire hose, doesn't it? There is just a staggering volume of data in the ATPL syllabus. But here's the thing, the problem isn't your intelligence, not at all. It's actually just how human memory works. If you're struggling to retain all these facts, the issue is your methodology.
Usually this comes down to ineffective study habits. Actually, the methods most of us naturally gravitate toward are the least effective. Researchers call them illusions of mastery. Things like massed practice, which is basically cramming, or passively reading your textbooks over and over. It feels productive, sure, but it's an illusion. Memorization without real understanding absolutely fails when exam questions start combining different concepts.
Section 2. Science of Successful Learning, Your Cognitive Instruments. This brings us to a crucial concept from the book, Make It Stick. Learning is deeper and more durable when it's effortful. This is the core paradox of learning. The harder your brain has to work to retrieve a piece of information, the more permanently that info gets wired into your memory. Cognitive science literally calls these desirable difficulties.
So what are our cognitive instruments? First up is active recall. This means effortfully retrieving facts or concepts from your memory without looking at the source. It physically halts forgetting and strengthens those neural pathways. So instead of passively rereading a chapter on the Earth's magnetic field, close the book. Force yourself to explain it out loud. A simple self-quiz is infinitely better for your brain than just scanning the text again.
You know, a perfect real-world example of active recall is a flight simulator. It is the absolute ultimate retrieval practice. Instead of just sitting there passively listening to a lecture on emergency procedures, the simulator forces you to actively retrieve those memory action items. You have to handle an engine failure in real time. It transforms abstract theory into concrete, highly durable knowledge. Our second instrument is spaced repetition. This is where you allow time to pass between your study sessions so the material gets just a little bit rusty. Why? Because it makes the next retrieval harder, but way more effective. If you practice a single navigation formula 50 times today, you're going to forget it by next week. But if you space those sessions out over a few days, the effort required to remember it actually reconsolidates the memory. You literally have to let yourself almost forget it to deeply learn it.
And our third tool is interleaving. This just means switching between different topics or subjects before your practice is complete, rather than endlessly blocking one topic. So instead of studying aircraft performance all day Monday and air law all day Tuesday, mix them up. It feels frustrating at first, for sure, but interleaving builds a broader mental schema. It trains your brain not just how to use a formula, but when to use it when you're facing mixed exam questions.
Section 3. Mastering specific ATPL subjects, the flight path.
Let's apply this to general navigation, or GNav. The wrong way to do this is memorizing formulas blindly or doing grid navigation all day long. The right way? Use active recall to explain why the convergency formula works out loud, like knowing that convergency equals delta longitude multiplied by the sine of the mean attitude. Interleave your practice by mixing grid questions with polar projections, and force yourself to draw those wind triangles fast and under pressure. Moving on to aircraft performance. The exams will absolutely trap you if you try to constantly recalculate complex graphs from scratch. Instead, memorize trigger numbers. For example, the 1, 2, 3, 4 segments rule. Gear up 400 feet acceleration, max continuous thrust, and 1,500 feet clear. Or the 2, 3, 4 engines rule, mapping to those minimum V2 rules. And make sure you understand the core logic, like why net performance is always less than gross performance because of that built-in safety margin. Understand the logic and you won't fall for the trick answers. Now, what about meteorology and air law? Look, Met isn't just about passing a test. It is literally about staying alive. Deeply understanding weather systems prevents real-world accidents, like inadvertently flying VFR into instrument conditions.
Don't just passively read the reports. And for air law, do not skim. Test yourself heavily on the things examiners love to ask. Use active recall on the flashing green and red light signals, or the exact definition of repetitive flight plan, which, by the way, is at least 10 occasions or once every 10 days.
Section 4. A 5-step study system, the safe landing.
Okay, I call this the ATPL active study loop, and it's super straightforward. Step 1. Learn the concept in a short theory block. Step 2. Close your notes and use active recall to explain it out loud. Step 3. Do practice questions immediately to lock that knowledge in. Step 4. Review your mistakes and categorize them. Figuring out exactly why you got something wrong is an incredibly powerful form of retrieval practice. And finally, Step 5. Repeat the whole thing using spaced revision cycles.
Section 5. Preventing pilot burnout. Maintaining altitude.
Studying for the ATPL is exhausting. So let's talk about burnout prevention tactics. First, avoid those marathon 8-hour passive study sessions. They just drain you without giving you any real retention. Instead, use short, highly focused blocks, like 10 to 20 questions per theme. Think Pomodoro technique. Balance highly complex topics with easier subjects to give your brain a breather. And above all, trust the process. Spaced repetition feels tough at first, but the results are undeniable.
Section 6. Strategy beats study hours.
The ATPL is undeniably difficult, but it is entirely manageable with the right strategy. I really want you to remember this. How you study matters way more than how long you study. If you swap passive reading for active recall and cramming for spaced repetition, you're actually going to cut your study time down while boosting your exam scores. Working smarter always wins out over endless hours of passive reading.
Think about the big picture here. You are preparing to navigate the globe. By building a structured, evidence-based learning strategy today, you aren't just hacking a test. You're building the deep, durable knowledge that will make you a safer, highly adaptable pilot on the actual flight deck. So close the textbook, start testing yourself, and trust the process. Are you ready for departure? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Now go crush those exams.